So, let's talk about what issues have been plaguing Faze and Liquid recently. I want to break this video down into a couple of sections, so I'll start with the biggest issue in my opinion, playstyles and squad building. Because these rosters are just fundamentally flawed based on their personal choices, or at least Faze's for sure is. So let's focus on them first, and I think their issues go back quite a while. They go back all the way to back when they kicked Robs. I mean, back when they had Robs and also Rain, their way of opening rounds on attack was very flexible. Rain was a very solid entry willing to sacrifice himself, and his role nowadays can be filled by Jacob whenever Faze actually let him go first, because I'd see twists ahead of Kuba way too often. But their T-sides were always made just so much better by having Robs, who is no doubt the best lurker ever. I think the prime example of this would be a map like Inferno, where they could always have a player prodding towards Banana, someone like Rain preferably taking space there, and in the meantime Robs could look for a duel in apps. Now this always put a tremendous amount of pressure on the enemy team, because you'd never know when you lost a player on one side, is there more people waiting to pounce on it, or is it just one of their two openers getting an isolated kill? That forced rotations, that made teams gamble, and gave a ton of space to Faze. And Carrigan is also amazing at reading rounds like this, but the thing is, with this current roster, he can't really go for them anymore. Now, funnily enough, during the Major, we've actually seen Faze try to recreate this playstyle a few times, and we even seen it work a few times, like in this round. But overall, this kind of play doesn't work half as well without Robs or a proper lurk in general, even though it might sometimes come in handy like here. But this is not the playstyle they should be going for with this current roster, and Jacob definitely shouldn't be the player who's lurking by himself, although, you know, he's very good individually, so probably could do that as well, but that's not what he's really made for, not his best quality. And Faze has been just stuck in this post-Robs era, playing the same way they used to with Robs, but without Robs, or any player to really fill the void he left behind with a similar player profile. So they just have no real way to open rounds now. I mean, I would say Jacob is one, but again, his opening rating also hasn't been great. Maybe now after the Major he can improve it, but also he needs to be set up a lot better if they want it to actually work. You know, before that with Rain, he could have a low rating on openers, and it wouldn't really matter, because they still had Robs who could always find a second frag somewhere else, even if Rain died on his entry. Now without a lurker like this, they need their players to do better. Now there are two ways to solve this issue. Either you can replace one of Twist or Frozen with a lurker and keep playing the same way you did. The issue with that is they obviously are all very good players. Even Jacob has shown his, both on Apogee and in Budapest, he's shown that he can be a very solid player by himself. The issue is the way they gel together, these guys. They just end up all playing such similar styles. Even Jacob has toned down his aggression on Faze, I feel like. I don't know if the stats agree with me here, but just looking at the games, I feel like there's been less of it. And with Brocky being such a passive oper, that doesn't help either. And the other way to fix it is just finally changing your playbook to exclude this lurk heavy playstyle that you sport on some maps, such as Inferno, and adapting to the new team you have and making sure that you play for your entry player instead of having him play for you. And if we look at Liquid, they kind of have the same issue but backwards. They have too many aggressive players for their defenses to hold against any slow playing team. Except I think this is a bit easier to solve than the Faze version. I don't necessarily think you need roster changes to solve this one, just like you do with Faze, where you either need to completely change your playstyle or do roster changes. I think they could do with just a small playstyle change. Not even a playstyle change really, more of an attitude adjustment. And what I mean is they should lean into it. Organized early round and mid round aggressive plays on the defense is what they need. Because right now what tends to happen is they get a man advantage, someone gets impatient, solo pushes, dies, the round falls apart. So why not make it a coordinated team effort instead? You have some very good aimers, Elish, Nerds, even Naf and Ultimate, just set them up for their fights better. Elish likes to play aggro, Ultimate is one of the more aggressive ops, Hugo himself is pretty aggressive as an IGL. Have the three of them create a ton of pressure somewhere, while Naf lurks somewhere else or anchors a side on defense. This should be the crux of their playstyle, and Nerds can be this floater, this element of surprise that can appear either with the main pack, replace Ultimate with it if his op is needed somewhere else, or support Naf, whatever is needed, right? And I think all in all, Liquid still have a much better team composition than Faze, they just haven't been able to utilize it at all. And maybe it's partially due to some kind of lack of creativity within the team, I don't know. That's an inside the team thing, I don't know, maybe they're bad at making ideas, maybe they're bad at executing them, they are bad at something though, to fail like this. And moving on to issue number 2, that is individuals. For Faze, I want to put a bit of a question mark next to Jacob. I think after this Major showing it's fair to give him more time. He still plays some shitty positions as well, like why is he anchoring A on Nuke for example. But he's shown a lot of good performances in Budapest, and he needs to be given another chance. My bigger worry is Brocky. Carrigan, and I hate to say it, but Neo. Now I don't know if I can blame them for building this team, maybe that one is on management, but regardless, both Neo and Carrigan are to be blamed for the tactical side of Faze, which was often quite lacking. As for Brocky, he just isn't consistent enough, that's it. I'd honestly love to see Brocky go back to some tier 2 team to rifle. He did first come up as a rifler. So I think his opening fell off a cliff in CS2, but he is still a good player overall and should be given another shot, but maybe on a different team in a different role. But yeah, FaZe need a better opener regardless, and at this point this is almost anyone. Dexter, Hades, Forsey, like, you name them, I'd probably prefer them over Brocky's op. And obviously Carrigan has been struggling individually for most of the year as well, right? So yeah, the individuals are not delivering as much as they are supposed to be. Now as for Liquid, while they have green ratings here, don't get fooled by this. Because these guys are just very unstable, they are very inconsistent. Nerd, Snaf and Ultimate, they can all pop off one game just to do absolutely nothing the next game. And that's really all it comes down to with them. I mean, they have some amazing talents, but they just can't keep them consistent. This is probably down to the tactics and getting them to feel more comfortable. Because they have shown us many times that they can play at a high level. Especially Nerds, I think, is the best example here of a player who fell off massively. You know, Nav, he had a massive resurgence recently. Nerds was a player who back on Heroic, back on Ents, back on Falcons, he seemed like an absolute world beater. Now on Liquid, he seems like a very mediocre player. And yeah, getting back to the whole tactical shebang, I mean, this team needs a better coach, if I'm being honest. Sorry to Flashy, but I think someone like So or Ash should have been signed a long time ago. Maybe now's the time to go for Ash, to be honest, since he decided to take a break from competition and GL is rebuilding. Yeah, they should probably give it a shot. But yeah, that's really it when it comes to the individuals on both teams. I think that they are all mad talented, but there are some issues with the way they've been put together and with how they are being activated. So I still want to talk about some more specific things within each team. So like for FaZe, I mentioned it before, but I'm gonna say it again. Positions, roles. This is a massive issue here. Yeah, and of course this relates to Jacob mainly. He is getting fucked over with the spots he's been made to play on some maps, and they're slowly changing it, but I don't know why they decided to put him on shitty spots in the first place. I just feel like there's a weird lack of the right approach from Neo and Carrigan as to how you should handle signing a rookie. It feels kinda like how Aurora are ready to ban Jora after having him transition to an anchor, you know? Like, let the kid play his spots for at least a little while. Don't put your 35-year-old IGL in better spots than your new star in the making. You know, it wasn't a big issue with Rain, because in his case the experience and flexibility were both there and allowed him to play those shittier spots and get shit ratings sometimes, but he could brush it off, because he knew how good he was. Jacob still needs to be built up a bit more before he can do that. I mean, I think in this case the solution is very simple though. Move the players around a bit. Put Carrigan in the shitty spots, maybe Frozen if you feel like you need more output there than what Carrigan will offer, and move Jacob to the freed up better spots. Like you already did that on Dust 2, guys. Jacob was your long anchor, now he's more often playing on short, he's more often towards mid. He still plays long sometimes, he still plays long a lot of the time to be honest, but he is no longer tied to playing long for the entire half. As for Liquid, I mean, it's tough to say what's going on within the team, but there has to be an issue there. Conflicting visions and game plans or some interpersonal stuff, I don't know. This team on paper is just way too good to perform this poorly. So there has to be an explanation we just can't see. This is also why I'd like them to sign a bigger name as their coach though, just to see if someone with more pull could get them on the same page. But overall, I think both teams mainly suffer from fairly similar role or playstyle issues, both in regard to the players' playstyles and the general wider team playstyle. And I'd love to see them address that in the Christmas break we have right now, either by making some signings that will help resolve those issues, or by changing their tactical approach to help the players activate and actually perform the way they are supposed to. And yeah, I think nothing that happened during the major really diminishes any of what I said today. Even though FaZe finished second, I mean, we've seen this before. If you were following CS for a while, you probably know FaZe just tend to do this. They tend to have a shitty year, do well at the major, and everyone goes, oh my god, Carrigan's such a good caller, FaZe is such a good team, there's so much potential, give them time. And then we give them time, and what happens? Oh, they do nothing for another half a year, and then perform well at the major, and we hear people saying how Carrigan is such a great coach and he totally shouldn't retire, and it all repeats. And this has been happening now for at least 2 years. I don't want another year like this from FaZe, okay? I want them to actually make changes now. React to the fact that your entire season was shit, even if the major went well. Cool, that's amazing. I love the fact that you got second at the major. Make changes, please. Don't let Brocky stay on the team. Or at least, if you're gonna let him stay on the team, I don't know, make him spend an extra 10 hours a day playing CS, because I don't know how long he's playing for right now, but it doesn't seem like it's enough. And Carrigan and Neo, they need a shake-up. Sign an assistant coach at least. If you're not gonna bench them, sign an assistant coach and let him help them, because there is clearly something that they need to change. And as for Liquid, I think the players are amazing. I think they could achieve great things, you know. A lot of them have already kinda shown that they can be amazing, you know. Shu, his GL run was one of the best IGL runs I've ever seen. He was incredible on that team. Nerds Bakonens was an absolute star. Elish, I don't think I have to say anything about Elish. Same story with Nav, just a very experienced player who we know can do amazing things. Ultimate is the least proven one here for sure, but I think he's had some amazing games as well, where he's shown that he can perform at a high level. They just need to get him to do it consistently after all the time he spent on this team. But yeah, I don't know, that's all for today. Just wanted to rant about those two teams. Hope you hear me in another video, and bye!